Welcome everybody to Funeral Nation episode 250. That is Jeff, the Funeral Commander Harbison. I am Ryan Thogmartin, and we are back.
We're back. Not necessarily in the same spot, but we're back where we can connect and talk.
Yes.
I've had a little vacation. You've been off on some vacation, and it's just summertime. That's what we do. But that doesn't mean that the news and what's going on in the funeral profession has slowed down much. Ryan, what do you perceive as the biggest story right now out in the funeral world?
It has to be the fact that Hillebrand has kind of put Batesville out on the market. They are exploring strategic opportunities, and which, from the way everything reads, the highest bidder for spinning off Batesville. So what does that mean for death care, Jeff?
It means another company is going to be sold in death care. Tisket to tasket, we got plenty of caskets.
That's right.
Speaking of which, there's another model that's coming out. Is it Titan casket?
Yes.
That direct to consumer apparently has figured something out, some sort of secret sauce or a silver bullet to go direct to consumer. And you and I offline, prompting this discussion today, actually talked about our profession doesn't have, in my view, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, a recognized funeral product or service out here anywhere on a national brand level. Yeah. Now, locally, yes, there's funeral homes that have done a great job of marketing their brand. And I want to give a great shout out to one of the best I've ever seen in Roanoke, Virginia, Sammy Oakey and family. If you walked in downtown Roanoke at any point as a guy on the street said, hey, and I'll play the game with you. I want to talk about brands. So Ryan, toilet paper, what would you say is a toilet paper brand?
Charmin.
Okay, Ryan, we're here in Roanoke. What about a funeral brand, a funeral home? What would you say?
Oakey.
That's it. And they have done a masterful job of building their brand. And that's something that you spend all of your time talking about. I spend a lot of mine with you here and elsewhere talking about building brand. You and I work very hard on personal brands, but your personal brand is also your funeral home.
That's right.
But the interesting part is I'm going to kind of come back to this is I don't know of one nationally recognized funeral product, service, or brand that people would, if we were a person on the street asking questions, hey, when you think funeral, what do you think of?
They may say casket, but they're not going to say a brand. They could say urn or casket. Those are probably the two most recognizable products in death care, but the brand behind those products is non-existent. And I think it's a multi-tier issue here. One, the funeral home itself is a brand. The owner and the people in the funeral home are a brand. And there's brands behind the products that funeral homes are selling to families. And we said the bad word of selling, but in reality, that's what it is. What we've learned is most other professions are not relying solely on the distributor to be the marketer. So if we look at drug companies, we look at car companies, Ford, Lincoln, Mercedes, they all market to us on a daily basis through multiple platforms, but I don't call Ford up directly and get a car. I go to the local Ford dealer. The same with drug companies. Right. That's right. Pfizer markets drugs to us on a daily basis, but I don't call Pfizer to get that drug. I have to go through a local doctor. And this is a question that you and I have raised multiple times. Why, as a profession, are we not marketing to the consumer from a brand perspective? And sure, it's expensive, but you could do it on a regional level. You can do it on a localized level and allow that to compound. But there are brands in death care that absolutely have the firepower to be able to market to the consumer and create brand awareness that drives through the local funeral home. The other thing is we're not creating tools for the funeral homes to use to be able to market to the consumer. And most funeral homes are realizing the need to market to the consumer and they have no idea how. And that's literally what we've been talking about and I've been talking about and hung my hat on for the last 11 years. And this is the playbook of how to build brand with the consumer. And we're getting to a point where we absolutely have to. And you mentioned Titan caskets. Titan has been covered in every online business blog, tech blog, mainstream, huge websites that get 20 to 30 million visitors a day have covered what Titan's doing direct to consumer in the casket space. They have a ton of private equity money and they are tackling going direct to consumer, and it's working.
Right. Obviously working. And I don't think that there's a correlation, but between my my gray matter, which is some of it left, and it's covered with snow up here
It's
to
wisdom.
make me look mature. It's wisdom, but in my wisdom, you know, I can't help but think, you know, Batesville selling, Titan casket now emerging.
Yeah.
Is there something to it? We could, I guess, create the idea. We can manufacture that's what's going on, but hopefully we can have someone from Batesville come on at some point. We haven't yet in the 250
we have
episodes.
tried, and also, so if you want to read what we're talking about, go to connectingdirectors.com. Batesville sent out a press release a week and a half ago. We've covered it extensively. We've reached out to Batesville through Connecting Directors. They have declined to say anything more than what is in the press release. Somewhat understandable, but we would love to have somebody on to chit chat. We don't need to go deep. We just need to understand what's going on and what's the driver.
Yeah, otherwise it's speculation. And, you know, again, I know that we'll get someone from Titan Casket Company on here, and we'll work for that, folks. Hopefully prior to Baltimore and NFDA, we'll have them on as a guest. But, you know, bottom line is our world changed. The pandemic. I'm here at a conference non-funeral related this week in Charleston, South Carolina, and it's in somewhat the death care arena. However, death now has become at a forefront because of the pandemic. You have young people who are writing pre-needs. You know, I'll go back to like the pre-need companies. You know, how are they marketing? They're still marketing through funeral homes, not necessarily direct to consumers. Gosh, you know, there's a opportunity out there that lies some way to crack that code. And I think that's a new mission. You're grinning right now.
I'm grinning because the amount of final expense companies that have reached out to us and we're helping with social strategy where they are going direct to consumer and having a tremendous amount of success. The consumer wants to have the conversation. They don't know how to have the conversation. They're looking for the invitation, and there are markers in their behavior. And this, we can go deep on this and we won't because this isn't the place, but funeral homes, pre-need companies are absolutely missing the mark. They're still stuck in this old story pattern that nobody wants to talk about it. And it's very taboo and we're going to ruffle feathers. And that's just not the case.
I couldn't agree more with you. And it's a topic of discussion that, yeah, we're still, what gets me is I read a lot on LinkedIn and articles, things that are out here, and we're still calling it taboo. You know what? Death is not taboo. It's only taboo if you want to keep it that way.
That's right. It's deep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm dealing with some things in my family personally, you know, discussions with parents and grandparents about dying, death and dying. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? It's a simple thing to do. It's just you have to bring it up. I'm astounded how they want to have the conversation. My biggest thing is I came back from this, you know, the celebrant training. I want to start creating the story, the life story. And, you know, folks, I'm telling you from a celebrant standpoint, everybody on this planet, whether you live one day or thousands of days and die at an old age, you have a story to be told, and people want to tell the story. And that to me is a different approach than you have, hey, by the way, do you want to plan your funeral?
Yeah.
Who's going to tell your story? What's your legacy? Where does it go? And I just don't believe we're doing a great job at that. And it goes back to, what are we missing out here as a profession to reach to consumers? How about your story? How are you planning your story? What is your legacy? I don't know. Again, I don't have the silver bullet, but I do have my ear to the ground and hearing a lot going on about what's not going on.
Yeah. That's right.
I do know you and I are privy to some things coming on. We're aware of a new group that's going to focus here soon, probably Baltimore, that's actually going to have death care benefits for employees and people that we've never approached before in a different manner. And I'm excited to see what's actually growing out here. There's so many new things that are coming in, but you're right. If we're depending on someone to tell our story and it's not our own, waiting for a director or someone else to sell or present, you're in trouble. We've got to find a more direct to consumer route. Yep. And I know when we just said that, that's going to cause some fireworks, but it doesn't mean you can't still make money. You can't make revenue, but you've got to get outside that box. You've got to become the Charmin.
That's right.
You've got to become the Charmin in your community as a funeral home. And if you're not, you're just not relevant.
Well, somebody else is writing your story and controlling the narrative, and it's not in your favor. Look,
that's exactly right.
Here's the deal. Some funeral home or brand in every community will eventually own the conversation. It can either be your firm or it's going to be your competitor, but somebody will own that real estate and they'll own that conversation.
Sure, and it's nothing but a top of mind issue. Is if you think funeral, you think death, I need to go to Oakey's funeral home or XYZ funeral home. In fact, I'd love to be able to get someone on from there because they've just done a superb job. They're literally in every facet of that community there, and I applaud what they do. And they're an example of what and how to make that happen.
That's right. You got it.
So we still have a lot going on. Baltimore, our Super Bowl's coming up. I think you and I are doing live show again.
We are part of the NFDA live booth. So you will get your fill of Jeff and I, and we have made a request/requirement for us to be involved in that. We've got to be able to go mobile, meaning they can't keep us trapped in that 40 by 40 booth.
That stage ain't big enough for us.
That's right. They got to let us roam and let's do some man on the street type conversations and really give you, if you're not going to Baltimore, you want to tune into the Funeral Nation Facebook page and Connecting Directors, because we are going to be going all over the convention floor and giving you an inside look and the highlights. So I'm excited for that. It's been great for Disrupt to partner with C&J Financial and making that happen the last few years. And you and I just, get to have a lot of fun and very unfiltered, unplugged, so to speak, which you should expect nothing less.
That's right. And, you just mentioned C&J. They're obviously the engine that makes this, the fuel for our engine. I think engine, then I got to remember the fuel.
That's right.
But that's another piece of it too, is the partnerships and people there. This year we need to have that live session going on at the C&J Sticks and Kicks party.
That's right.
It'll happen again.
It
by the
will.
way, I'll bring you the plastic bags and put your clothes in.
Thank
Are
you.
you bringing the fam again?
Absolutely, we'll be bringing the fam. So they may make me get my own room if I'm coming to the Sticks and Kicks party.
You can stay in mine. I'll get an extra bed.
Woo!
But there's so many things going on. I'm aware of a book that may be coming out by a funeral professional and a hospice professional that we'll talk about as soon as they're ready for publicizing. We've got so many great things going on coming into this year that have developed. I call it post-pandemic progress.
Yeah, it's good.
And we should celebrate it, our post-pandemic progress. We have our friend Troy with the ATM. We'll have him here soon at some point. We saw up in ICCFA.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about what our business looks like in the future. Yeah, you read the stock market reports, or for the public companies. We'll have to have Tom on again soon. It's all bullish. It's all positive in death care.
Yeah.
And when you're on top, you need to continue to evolve and change and look at different ways to reach. So I think for 2023, for us from this point on, is consumers. How do we as a profession do better for the consumer and reach them for education process and knowledge about what we do, instead of closing our doors and you have to come in to get a GPL to talk to us.
Come on, people. Let's go.
Right. I'll pass around the collection plate here in just a minute. I'm preaching now. Sorry.
That's it. We're getting in somebody's feels today. That's what we do.
Yeah, I'm digging it. Well, brother, I'm traveling this week and I'll be back, and I hope we can get together next week. Maybe, we haven't done a Phoenix Scottsdale face-to-face together Funeral Nation. Let's maybe plan that next week. Let's do that next week.
Let's do it. We've got a new office here in Scottsdale that we're in. So we've got space and cameras. Let's make it happen.
We'll make that happen, I promise. And let's do a little collaboration.
That's it. Okay. Well, Jeff, you enjoy your conference. Until next time, have a great effing week.
Out here, and thank everybody out there in the field for what you're doing. You
That's
really
it.
appreciate it.
Get your ass up and sleeping. Rolling up the smell of the weed and out Christmas.